Hello, welcome to Paradigm Shift Nightly News. We are live 3/25/2023, and Putin has moved nuclear weapons into Belarus for the first time in decades. We read the headline, and we get into it. The Russian leader announced the move to place tactical nuclear weapons in the neighboring Eastern European country on Saturday in response to the United Kingdom providing Ukraine with armor-piercing rounds containing depleted uranium. Okay. And I would add on top of that the expansion of Finland into NATO. And since Finland shares border space with Russia, that's another provocation I would have to assert may have something to do with this. Um, it goes on to say, I would like to highlight that without breaking our international commitments or not spreading nuclear weapons, we have already helped our Belarus colleagues to re-equip their planes of Belarus Air Force's 10 planes are already ready for using this type of weapon, Putin said during a broadcast on Saturday. We already transferred to Belarus our well-known and very effective Iskander complex, and it can also be a carrier. So the DU, the depleted uranium, says, what is depleted uranium? Putin warns against UK plan to send this ammunition. It's traditionally thought of as armor piercing, but it can be devastating to the environment, as I said a couple nights ago. It's less radioactive than natural radiation. Yeah, it's still, accumulate a bunch of that in the soil and just see what happens. It's no good. So let's talk about the game theory aspect of that. I'm going to go over here to Chat GPT and ask it what it thinks of the game theory of the situation is. The It's taking quite a while here. I've consulted it before, and I'm curious to see what it says now. Huh. Maybe it won't let me live stream it. Never tried. Oh, here we go. Let's see. How does Russia moving its nuclear arms into Belarus affect the situation as far as the proxy war between the West and Russia goes, using game theory as a model of analysis. Let's see what it says. You guys can see my terrible typing skills on display. It's been a while. I don't know if I can see your chats up here or not, but let's see. From a game theory perspective, the movement of nuclear arms by Russia into Belarus can be analyzed as a strategic move to influence the balance of power between the West and Russia in the ongoing proxy war. One way to analyze the situation is to use the framework of the classic game theory model of the prisoner's dilemma. In this model, two players, in this case the West and Russia, must choose between cooperation and defection in a situation where both have an incentive to defect, but mutual cooperation will be the optimal outcome for both. In the case of Russia moving its nuclear arms into Belarus, this can be seen as a move that increases Russia's strategic advantage in the proxy war, giving it more leverage and potentially deterring the West from taking aggressive actions against it. This move can be seen as a defection in the prisoner's dilemma game, as it increases Russia's power at the expense of the West. The West, on the other hand, may respond to this move with its own strategic moves, such as increasing military presence in nearby countries. What I didn't elaborate is that ChatGPT doesn't know that they already expanded into Finland. I would have to say that, and it would have to read it. So the West, one could claim, escalated first, but which came first, the chicken or the egg in this situation? And you're going to get people pointing fingers in both directions. From a game theory perspective, these moves can be seen as attempts to balance the power dynamics and prevent Russia from gaining too much of an advantage. Overall, the situation can be seen as a complex game of strategic moves and counter moves where both sides are trying to maximize their own outcomes while avoiding catastrophic outcomes such as nuclear war. The analysis of the situation using game theory can help us understand the motivations and actions of the players involved and potentially inform strategies for resolving the conflict. strategies for resolving the conflict would be to come together to recognize each other as peers, as honest human beings who don't want war and who actually are, living, breathing, real human beings on the other side. Both need to recognize that neither side can win zero sum in this. If that happens, everybody dies. It's like total annihilation. So we have to have some big kids come and sit down at the table. And American diplomacy, as Elon Musk said recently, is on a bronze level at best. I think he's given it way too much credit. All right, now moving forward, we have a lot of news to cover. We've got space weather, we've got James Webb telescope images, 19 jaw-dropping images, double M flares blast coronal mass ejection off the sun. Wonderful video of that. Let's go watch that right now. Wild stuff happening around the world today. This was in 2022, this video. It's just eye candy, I suppose. M-class flares, because we just got a G-class flare. But this is good because it illustrates and shows really what massive flares look like. Oh, come on, give it up. They're zooming in. This thing's going to pop off. Move my head out of the way. Boom! Whoa. Boom! That's a big one. It's a big one for sure, folks. All right. Now we're going over here to solve the mystery of Mao. The spaceship shaped object has been solved. The mystery has been solved, scientists say. Let's read on to find out. Scientists spotted an oddly shaped visitor in our solar system in 2017, and it was accelerating in an unexplainable way. The icy object called Mao, which roughly translates to messenger from afar or scout in Hawaiian, was unlike any object ever seen in the solar system. It looked unusually long and skinny like a cigar, had a reddish hue, and created no telltale tail. With more information, planetary scientists now say the interstellar object is pancake or dish-shaped. Unsurprisingly, it's actually an icy comet, not an alien spaceship. And researchers now have a good idea of why it's been speeding up as it traverses our cosmic neighborhood. The explanation is simple, they say. As the sun heated the comet, the icy object released a particular gas, accelerating and changing Mao's expected trajectory through the solar system. Researchers Jennifer Bergner and Daryl Seligman recently published their findings in science journal Nature. The explanation was originally Bergner's idea. What's beautiful about Jenny's idea is that it's exactly what should happen to interstellar comets, Seligman said in a statement. We had all these stupid ideas like hydrogen, icebergs, and other crazy things. It's just the most generic explanation. And tonight, there is a speeding comet passing by Earth, a human-killing asteroid risk. Okay, let's see. One of NASA's chief scientists say human-killing asteroid risk much higher than previously thought. They've got to have some existential crisis to keep everybody in fear. Yeah, of course it's a thing. Anyone that's seen Tunguska or any of that will tell you that it's possible, for sure. But we have more pressing issues on the ground. This is all just for fun, learning about it, honestly. So it's connected to this article. Harvard physicist preparing expedition to recover possible alien artifact. Avi Loeb, the Harvard scientist, the same one that claimed Mao may be from an interstellar alien civilization. He says he has good evidence that a meteorite that crashed to Earth was interstellar. He thinks it might even be alien, which is why he's looking for it. Harvard physicist Avi Loeb, the Mao guy, hasn't given up on his quest to recover what he believes could be a potential alien artifact at the bottom of the Pacific. Based on a recent update, he and his team are closer than ever to finally getting their highly scrutinized $1.5 million Galileo project expedition up and running, setting a date for sometime this summer. He said, quote, "We have a boat, we have a dream team, including some of the most experienced and qualified professionals in ocean expeditions," Loeb announced in a Medium post. "We have complete design and manufacturing plans for the required sled, magnets, collection nets, and mass spectrometer. And most importantly," he added, "today we received the green light to go ahead." He says, "It may be a veritable shot in the dark, but what Loeb's expedition is searching for is likely real, though some academic peers might consider his hopes of finding something, quote, alien a little hokey." In the video, let me pop one again. So he's going to the ocean, thinking it's a perfect basin to collect all the meteorites that have fallen. He's going to take a sled with a bunch of magnets on it and whoop, go down there and try to collect a bunch of these meteorites, and then I guess through the mass analysis of them, hopes to find one that's interstellar and thus potentially alien. I'm not sure what the term alien means, because anything that falls out of the sky is alien to our planet. You could say that a long time ago in the past, perhaps there was massive cataclysm or collision on Earth, and a part of the Earth was ejected and blown out into space, and it's just coming back down. However, in the sense that it is coming into our house or our home from outside, it's alien, and it's obvious because it's causing a bright ball of fire in the sky as it comes in. Now I get what they're saying; they're just not elaborating it very much. But his whole theory of the alien mothership was just shot out of the water by right here. Mark Kaufman, Mystery of Spaceship Solved. And this was published right here in, what do we got? Mashable. And it quoted Daryl Sigmund and Jennifer Bergner. They're the ones that published their findings here in the Journal of Nature. So you can go and check that out. Now, the James Webb Space Telescope has been responsible for quite a number of paradigm shifts as of late in the cosmic realms. Astronomy has been turned on its head. The Big Bang paradigm has been questioned, has been challenged, and all but obliterated, destroyed. They're grasping for straws right now, trying to make dark matter work. But we're going to look right now. Mountains of the Karina Nebula. Look at that. Stephan's Quintet, a group of 5 tightly bound galaxies located 290 million light years away. The Southern Ring Nebula, also called the 8 Burst Nebula. The Cartwheel Galaxy, 500 light years from Earth. Ghost Rings of Neptune, now that's wild. The 8th planet from the Sun has 5 rings made of icy dust. Orion's Sword, also known as his Phallus, PP. Yeah, sword. Schlong, whatever you want to call it. It impregnates, it creates all the stars, including the one that we came from. They found out that the gas, the water, the molecular water in our solar system matches that of the molecular water in Orion's Nebula, which is where it's located in the tip of his sword, or PP. Located just a few hundred light years from Earth, the Orion constellation is home to some of the largest and brightest stars in the sky, including the famous red star Betelgeuse, which has been varying and displayed perhaps a micronova or a dust shell blow-off when its color and brightness dramatically and rapidly changed for several months, I think in 2021 or 22. It's one of the biggest, brightest star-forming regions in the sky. A fiery hourglass. A young star blasts streams of gas into surrounding dust clouds, creating a fiery hourglass within the constellation Taurus. Is what we have here is a nova. Yes, that's right. A recurrent nova, a micronova, but this is the aftermath of the nova. The north and south poles of the sun, portions of the star, were blown outward away from the equatorial disk. And then that's what you get. And if you turn that and you look at it the other direction, it looks circular, like a cat eye or something along those lines. Oh my God, that's amazing. The Tarantula Nebula. Let me get out of the way here. Let me erase myself from this so you can really see. Isn't that beautiful? Stretching 40 light years across, it stretches its spindly legs of gas around a cosmic cavity carved by newborn stars. Yeah, that cosmic cavity is where this star in the middle was likely the original star that, boom, novaed and blew out all that material, which was its former constituency or self, and it started forming all the other stars. We call that a quasar, forming of a galaxy, etc. You can read all this or get into it in the Electric Universe. Thunderbolts Project is a good thing. You can also read Alton Harp, no longer with us. Eerie Einstein ring. So, okay, this is an Einstein ring. Like a cosmic bullseye, this trippy deep space object is called an Einstein ring, named for Albert Einstein, who predicted that massive objects in space could magnify or lens the light of objects far behind them. The eerily perfect circle is an illusion created by warped space-time. They say that, but how do they really know that? There could be a medium of water or more or less dense gas, which is creating an optical effect. You just put your finger in some water and you can see that liquid has an effect on the optics. And there has to be something between us and whatever that is in the vast distance of the interstellar and intergalactic medium, which apparently is filled with water, as we recently were told. I'm going to go to that article now. Our solar system shares water from Orion. Let's see. Boom. Scientists discover the origin of water in our solar system. This is a good one. Scientists may have discovered the origin of water in our solar system. March 14, 2023 by Kevin Jiang, published in the Toronto Star. Isn't that beautiful? And little pieces of water, star water. After gazing upon a distant star, an international team of scientists may have discovered the missing link behind the origins of water in our solar system. Their findings, published in Nature last week, suggest the water we drink, bathe in, and use for everything else essential to life originates from the space between solar systems, billions of years before the birth of our sun. Carl Sagan once said, "We're all star stuff," said John Tobin, the study's principal investigator and U.S.-based scientist for National Radio Astronomy Laboratory to the star. The water, that's the part of us, that's part of us is also, man, they really cannot write. In some ways, star stuff as well. That was terribly, like, am I bad? The water that's part of us is also, in some ways, star stuff as well. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Before this, we knew Earth's water mostly arrived from ice-packed comet impacts and have observed water molecules floating in interstellar space. But how can we connect these extremely disparate events? Tobin says his findings have the answer. What's water made out of? You may be familiar with water's chemical formula, H2O, but did you know there exists a naturally occurring heavier water variant called HDO? HDO forms HDO forms when instead of an oxygen atom bonding on two hydrogen atoms, it attaches to one hydrogen and one rare deuterium atom. Deuterium is like hydrogen but slightly heavier. Its nucleus contains a neutron along with a proton, whereas hydrogen only has one proton. All the water on Earth contains a harmless percentage of HDO that has remained mostly consistent since the birth of our sun and solar system. Tobin's team took advantage of the fact to trace the origins of Earth's water through space by comparing H2O HDO ratios across different solar systems. The deuterium to hydrogen ratio is sort of like the fossil record of where our water came from, he said. Their breakthrough happened when, for the first time ever, the team managed to detect water among the swirling preplanetary disk of dust and matter around a newly formed star named V88-3 Orionis. Their target can be found in the Orion constellation, roughly 1,300 light years from Earth. To the team's surprise, the water they detected had a similar H2O to HDO ratio as Earth, suggesting the water in our solar system in V883 Orionis originated from the same place, Tobin said. How is water made? Water forms largely by accident in the interstellar medium. It's created as a byproduct of plasma in the interaction of the gases and the plasmas, the pressure densities that are created. Differences, just my opinion. Water forms largely by accident. The space between solar systems is loose elements bump into each other, said Norman Murray, a professor at the Canada Institute of Theoretical Astrophysics at the University of Toronto. So they're just saying accidentally you got an oxygen molecule that somehow finds a hydrogen molecule, and then they go and find another oxygen molecule, and boom, that becomes one water molecule. It could happen, but it's probably actually created in a process, I would think. The interstellar space mostly contains hydrogen with a sprinkle of helium and a minuscule dash of deuterium, Murray continued. All elements formed in the aftermath of the Big Bang. However, we're going to talk about that too, about how the James Webb Telescope has more or less disproven this thing right here. Disproven that. That's a bunch of horse cocky. However, there also exist oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, and myriad other elements spat out by neighboring stars as they undergo fusion. Water is created when oxygen happens to collide with two hydrogen or deuterium atoms, Murray said, but out in interstellar space, HDO is few and far between. Its only unit. All this interstellar matter eventually condenses into a giant molecular cloud that a solar system's unique water composition is created. When you form giant molecular clouds, which is where young stars form, the temperature drops sufficiently that the water vapor freezes out, Murray said. And when you do that, the heavier water molecules, meaning the HDO, that freezes out earlier and more efficiently. According to Tobin and his team's findings, the ice from the cloud is the same water distributed throughout comets and planets. Eventually, the cloud may grow dense enough to collapse in and on itself. When this happens, the cloud center is compressed to a star, while the rest eventually clumps together to form a solar system. Now, this is all just propaganda. That's all propaganda, and it's completely unnecessary to explain all this. The accretion theory of how a star forms is not proven. That's a theory, and it's bollocks. If you look into the idea of Birkeland currents and the creation of stars along the Z-pinch, or the intersecting axis of large interstellar galactic electric filaments, it tends to make more sense. And the matter is literally being created from those points, according to Douglas Vogt. If you look at the universe in the form of an information theory of matter, in the form of a sense of a hologram, that's where all of the matter in existence is being created and coming out of. It's information. Okay, so they propagandize a little bit. Now we can trace back the evolution of water going through each of these different stages, from the interstellar medium to protostars to protoplanetary disks. Is what they can tell is that the ratio to H2O and HDO in our solar system appears to be the same as this star here, V883 Orionis. And you could draw a number of conclusions from that. You could say, well, perhaps they came from the same dust cloud, I would say the same former star supernova and blew them out. And they're the byproducts of the same remnant. Or we were created from the Orion Nebula, I think is probably the way I would go with that, because it's a reason why the ancients worshipped it and considered it holy. Holy, holy, holy. There was a guy on the internet a long time ago who I used to watch. I haven't seen him around in a while. His name is Danny Wilton, but he came up with what was called Orion and the Vatican, and we'll take a look at that real quick. But he kind of believed that there's a mandala effect, or as above, so below, and I do too. I think that the heavens reflect everything on Earth. But we'll look at Orion and the Vatican. Red Ice Radio talked about it a while back, 2013. Yeah, Orion in the Vatican. So Red Ice had him on episode 1. Yep. RevelationNow.net. Never heard of it. Alchemist, Gnostic, and independent researcher Danny Wilton discusses his new book, Orion and the Vatican. In it, he connects Hubble's telescope's Orion Nebula images as the inspiration for archetypes used by Vatican artists like Michelangelo and early breathtaking 15th, 16th, and 17th century Vatican church architecture. He builds a strong case all ancient cultures paid homage and worshiped the same god represented by diverse archetypes in the Orion Nebula. Now we're going to go back and look at some of the images, which are what I really like. Orion Trapezium. Go back. Does it show it here? Here we go. Here we go. This right here, he gradually shows the overlay and how it matches perfectly. When you can go down to the minutest detail, and these painters laid this all out. But I would say it's almost sort of a cosmic coincidence. And in fact, it's not a coincidence, it's by design, but it all spirals down. We're on the same spiral of information flowing from there to here. It's all the phi ratio. And when you organize the painting, you lay it out to the phi ratio, to the sacred spiral, the elements in the painting are going to align to things in nature when you look at them. And if you have a view of something in nature, say if you're looking at a tree from the top, or a pineapple or anything where you can see the phi ratio exhibited, you could take that and overlay it on any piece of art that used that same phi ratio, and then you could find correspondences. I'm just saying that everything is the same according to Hermes, as above, so below, and as below, so above. So he is both right and potentially, there is no direct knowledge, but I think I listen to him a lot, and he has some serious points. He turned me on, in fact, to H.P. Blavatsky, and I've got her work right here, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, or Isis Unveiled. Yeah, she talks about this a lot. Let's see what she says about Orion. Such a massive book. Collected writings. How Isis Unveiled was written. Sorry. I'll have to look in here and set it aside so next time I can read it ready. This copy does not appear to have an index, so it's hard to track anything down right off the bat by simple word. At any rate, she teaches about the mysteries and the ancient mysteries of Gnosticism, Hermeticism. I myself have made some discoveries as far as the correspondences of the nebulas in heaven and art and famous pieces of art are concerned. In fact, the Triangulum Galaxy and some famous pieces of art regarding Andromeda and Perseus. And I'll make a whole video one night. We'll live stream and I'll show you guys those wild correspondences and overlays. And what's neat about that is the same thing is applicable. The center of the nebula, where the quasar and all the light and the new birth is correspondent with where Christ's head is, the point of illumination outward. And Christ is a fractal that lives inside of all of us as well. He's sitting on the throne in the pineal gland, casting his eye over all. And he sees all, hears all, knows all, was the beginning and the end of your life, of consciousness that you came into, boom, and you will go out of, boom. And what is that thing shaped like? A pine cone? Yeah, the phi ratio. So everything here is is just like that, folks. Let's see. We've got more news to cover, though. Let's see. So we looked at the mystery of the spaceship. That's not a mystery at all. Harvard scientists laundering money to go explore the deep sea. Probably a cover-up to find some ancient civilizations or something along those lines. If you want my opinion, that would be where the money would be better spent if you're going to explore the depths of the ocean with a crack team of scientists. It would be to explore places like Atlantis Massive to discover the ruins that are there from the ancient civilization that are now just encrusted and coated in several inches to several feet of calcium carbonate from the production of the hydrothermal vents and a limestone creation. The whole place is covered up just like hard water in a cave. You build stalactites and stalagmites. That same process has happened over roughly the last 12,000 years or so on the entire city of what used to be Atlantis on top of the big mountain there in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Let's go check that out. Atlantis Massive. Show me Atlantis Massive in the middle of the ocean. Boom.
According to Wikipedia, 2016, the Atlantis massifies a prominent undersea massif in the North Atlantic Ocean. It is a dome-shaped region approximately 10 miles across and rising about 14,000 feet from the sea floor.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's the actual location. Now we're going to look at the Lost City. Lost City on Atlantis Massive. Often referred to simply as the Lost City, is an area of marine alkaline hydrothermal vents located on the Atlantis Massif at the intersection between the Mid-Atlantic Ridge and the Atlantic's Transform Fault in the Atlantic Ocean. Lost City Hydrothermal Vent Field. So it is a hydrothermal vent field. And here we go. Geology and chemistry. This is where serpentinization comes in, folks. This is how the Atlanteans powered everything. The orichalcum is serpentinization. It's the process of the olivine, which is abundant in the mantle, being extruded up. The entire mountain of Atlantis is basically one big mountain of olivine, and it's constantly undergoing metamorphosis. And it had freshwater springs in the middle of the island that were also hot water springs, which are similar to a location here on Earth, above Earth, which was searched out and sought after by, I believe, Ponce de Leon in the exploration of the Americas, and that's Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is known as Mount Minnetonka, or the land of perpetual rainbows. And I believe that ancient Atlantis was a similar location. It was always shrouded in beauty and sitting right on the equator, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean for the most part, with archipelagos and islands around, is a very special place. However, this serpentinization right here, Lost City is an exemplary location for the study of abiotic methanogenesis and hydrogenesis, as serpentinization reactions produce methane and hydrogen, supplementing the Fischer-Tropsch process reactions. This is the case in point of what I was talking about earlier. This is why the whole theory of oil being a fossil fuel is complete and total bullcrap. There can be fossil fuels. There can be oil. There can be some carbon-created fossil fuels. But the vast majority of oil on this planet is created in an abiotic process that is ubiquitous throughout the fault systems of the planet. Rifting centers or rifting valleys, spreading centers, collision points, anytime water and olivine and the pressure gradients are changing, and olivine starts to go through this process known as serpentinization, there's going to be hydrocarbons created. There's going to be natural gas created. There's going to be hot springs. There's going to be all this stuff that goes along with it. And it's abundant. Far more abundant than any, pile of dinosaur bones could amount to. And you ask me why the oil companies wouldn't want this out there. Well, it wouldn't justify the price of oil being so high. We could all afford a 100-gallon barrel of oil for $5 or $10 easy. We could power our cars on smart hybridized engines mixed with electric motors, hybrid, like Toyotas want to do, and we could drive thousands of miles per tank, no problem, really cheaply. There would be an age of abundance like no one can believe, and I believe this is the truth. We need to spread this information no matter what. Look into it. Here's the information right here. The Fischer-Tropsch process is how oil was created in Germany during World War II when they were under a blockade and couldn't access any. So it tells you right here, olivine and water, carbon dioxide, transforms to serpentine. Serpentine plus magnetite plus methane, phthalate, olivine, water, magnetite, silica, hydrogen, 2H2, hydrogenesis, and methanogenesis. This is the chemical reaction chain you can see right here for yourself. And biology. This is also important because it goes to why we should and where we should be investigating for life in outer space. If we want to look for aliens, we need to look right here. This is where they are, in my opinion. The extremophiles, fungus, bacteria, viruses, these things are the aliens. They can interstellar travel. They're going to find the places throughout the cosmos like a von Neumann probe, and they're going to self-replicate. That's what they're going to do. They can survive in any conditions. It just makes sense. Now, we know for a fact that this process of abiotic oil creation and methane creation must be taking place throughout the solar system and other locations like Enceladus and Io, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, at a very minimum. It's more likely very ubiquitous and found in other places as well. But where it's found, life is found. And these extremophiles actually play a role in the hydrogenesis, the creation of the oil. Let's read. Lost City and other hydrothermal vent systems support vastly different life forms due to Lost City's unique chemistry. A variety of microorganisms live in, on, and around the vents. Methanosarcanelles, like archaea, and form thick biofilms inside the vents where they subsist on hydrogen and methane. Bacteria related to the Bacillota also live inside the vents. External to the vents, archaea, including the newly described Anme1, the bacteria including Pseudomonodonta, oxidize methane and sulfur as their primary sources of energy. So as you can see, these are ideal candidates for things that could live on other worlds. Lost City also supports a variety of small invertebrates associated with the carbonate structures, including small corals, snails, bivalves, polychaetes, amphipods, ostracods, and nematode worms have been observed living on the carbonate chimneys. Carbonate chimneys. There you go. What is carbonate? That's limestone. That's the hard water I was telling you about. Are absent from Lost City. Other animals such as the tube worms and giant clams that are abundant in typical black smoker vents, however, are absent from the Lost City. So this is not a black smoker. Okay, a black smoker is like an actual volcanic chimney that's like boop, 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 like bubbling. You know, it's burping out. And this is not that. This creates its own heat and its own energy. It's not a volcano or a heat source underneath it that's causing it to change. It's the very nature of the rock itself going through this metamorphic process that is exothermic, meaning it creates heat. That in and of itself can be an energy generator. Like if we can create this in a lab, we have an abundance of the material. You see, this is an area that geologists, engineers, physicists all need to begin studying. So please share this video far and wide so people can hear about it, can learn about this stuff. I'm not going to stop. These alkaline hydrothermal vents also continuously generate acetyl thioesters, providing both the starting point for more complex organic molecules and the energy needed to produce them. So there you go. They are also the source for all the building blocks to create organic life. It's Mama Earth giving birth to us from her womb right there. Like it's plain as day. The ancients mythologized this stuff and allegorized it, but they were not stupid. They knew what was going on. When they worshiped the firestone and Mercury is associated with the caduceus, this is the process of DNA. This is the process of these proteins changing. This is the molecular process and the chemistry of fire coming from a stone. You see, it is no doubt a cover-up. Now let's look at what some of the true Atlantis looks like. Not the Rorschach blot, the Rycat structure in Africa. I know that, but What you're looking at, in my opinion, estimation, is perhaps an ancient building or an ancient statue in the city that Plato described in the Timaeus and the Critias, because this matches perfectly, and I can show you other things as to why this location has to be Atlantis. Um, Ancient global civilization that used some advanced knowledge of the Earth's shape and how to map the entire thing and then navigate from one point to another, and furthermore create their structures in such a way that they pointed from one location to another, and you could basically navigate around the world from one city to the next just by the way the city was designed. From the holy temple, as we call it, they're all aligned in a specific way to you can walk down that procession and eventually end up at the next location. Just follow the straight line, straight-ish. um, Plato talks about the great statues dedicated to Poseidon and Atlas and all the wondrous things in the city of Atlantis. Well, we see here clearly these are 50 and 60 foot high, a 9.30 foot meter chimney at Lost Chimney or at Lost City. The carbonate structures at the Lost City field include this chimney more than 30 feet in height. The white sinuous spine is freshly deposited carbonate material. The top shows evidence of collapse and regrowth, as indicated by the small newly developed cone on its top. There's a reason why this hasn't been broadcast far and wide, why it's not more talked about. Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute has gone there several times, and it's just kept hush-hush. A lost city of the deep reveals unexpected forms. They named this place the Lost City and the mountain Atlantis at like a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, I think, or ironically, but the truth is that this is it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, folks. And if we could go there and spend some of this time they're wasting, and money they're wasting supposedly looking for alien meteorites on the bottom of the Pacific, well, we might find out a lot more about who we are and where we come from than anyone ever thought possible. Now, let us continue. Citigroup CEO declares this is not a credit crisis after U.S. bank failures. He's lying to people on the 22nd of March. He's scared poopless. It is, it's not a credit crisis, I would say. And I don't even think it's a liquidity crisis. It's a confidence crisis. People have lost confidence in the morons maintaining control of their funds. A bank is just like supposed to be a hen guarding your eggs. You put your eggs in there, and you can get your eggs out when you want. The hen guards them and takes care of them. She gets fed and watered in a coop provided for her because of that. The hen's not supposed to take and sell your eggs as soon as they come in and trade them to somebody else or whatever. And when you come ask for your eggs, have to then hope somebody else is coming along to give her some more eggs to deposit than to give you. So when everybody comes along asking for all their eggs at once, the hen has no eggs to give, and she's on the dinner table. That's what's happening. There are a lot of banks that are getting put on the dinner table right now, and they're all scared, and they're all putting you and I and our grandchildren and prosperity into posterity in question. That's what's up. It's not cool. Everybody can see it. Here we go. Deutsche Bank's shares plummet. This is Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Frankfurt, Germany. Shares of Deutsche Bank fell sharply Friday, dragging down major European banks and leading German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to express confidence in the country's largest lender after fears about the global financial system sent fresh shudders through the market. Shares were down 7% in late afternoon trading, after falling as much as 14%. The stock closed the day with an 8.5% drop to $9.19. If it's anything like the other ones, you could be seeing $1 to $2 or $3 on that in the coming week or two, and unless something drastic happens. But I don't see that because they have bad bonds. They have bad bonds. What nobody is talking about right now, all these banks are going, it is the very central banks themselves whom are the most distressed, who have the most bad debt coming on as they start doing, quote, quantitative tightening, unwinding their balance sheet while raising interest rates. They're reducing their income and increasing their debt. So they're reducing their payments and increasing their liabilities. That makes them pretty much insolvent. It can quite quickly. The interest on the bonds alone becomes untenable. And what happens then? Well, governments default. Look what happens when governments default. Other bigger, more powerful people tend to get together and come in and try to take over everything and make you sign a treaty and give up everything. So they end up owning it. Similar to, what happened in Europe with the Weimar Republic or the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles ended World War One, created reparations, and then the Weimar Republic couldn't pay back that debt, so they started printing more money and inflating their currency to just pay the debt arbitrarily. But what that did is created such a surge in the money supply that inflation became out of control, and people were literally rolling wheelbarrows full of cash down to the bread store. It's untenable, and everybody knows it. Everybody's been talking about it. They say we're going into a recession. Well, ChatGPT or whatever the smart thing is thinks that it's a 60-70% chance within the next year we could go into recession. I think it'll probably be 2024 if we do. And it could last 3 years, folks. 3 years. I don't think we hit the bottom until 2027. I'm saying that now. And that is based off past historical precedents. If you look at the beginning of 2020, it's usually a 7-year cycle for it to play out from the time of a big, like, black swan type of massive undulation like that in the stock market. It usually takes 7 years from that point before it's ultimately found a bottom. And that's what I'm looking at. So, cleaning house here on these tabs. German doctors are attempting to reverse death and resurrect humans. A company called Tomorrow Biostasis is focusing on human cryopreservation in the hopes that it can eventually reverse death. So first they want to freeze you and then they want to bring you back. It's definitely just like Idiocracy. This guy's going to get froze and then 500 years from now he's going to wake up in a landfill thinking, what happened? The new Berlin startup has already preserved the bodies of about 10 deceased humans. Liquid nitrogen is the main ingredient used to ensure cryopreservation. The waiting list for Tomorrow Biostasis, a startup based in Germany, is in the hundreds. Wow. Okay. The company's typical clientele are 36 years old on average and tend to work in tech, which is perhaps the least surprising development of all. So a bunch of guys my age that drank the Kool-Aid and went into tech and think they're really sharp and savvy and they want to live forever because they can't swallow the idea of dying. Being temporary. They said, we got technology, man. I worship science. I'm an atheist. I worship reason, whatever, So they want to go into the technocratic future dominated by machines where we merge with machines, the singularity. That's what they're hoping for. I don't know if we can successfully necromance in the future. It's scary. As Elon Musk said in a tweet, living forever is the scariest damn thing he could think of. And now for the health section, they're promoting a new virus out there. What is Marburg virus? Another country reports outbreak of, quote, highly virulent disease. The African country of Tanzania reported its first ever outbreak of Marburg disease, which has so far resulted in 8 total cases and 5 deaths. There's that number 13, 8 and 5. So this is some gematria going on right there. The Ebola-related virus was also responsible for additional lab-confirmed illnesses stemming from a February outbreak in Equatorial Guinea, which has so far sickened 9 patients, 7 of which have died. Now that is something to be concerned about. A 70% mortality rate with a high spread rate. Now that is actually something to stay inside over. But a 0.0004% chance of, maybe getting sick enough to die, that's not exactly enough of a reason to lock down society and make everybody get jabbed up, In a statement issued earlier this week, the World Health Organization has said an additional 161 people, all considered contacts of those sickened, were being monitored for symptoms. The highly virulent Marburg disease, meanwhile, results in symptoms including fever as well as hemorrhagic fever, fatigue, diarrhea, and vomiting. It also has a fatality rate of 88%. Like Ebola, the Marsburg virus originates in bats and spreads between people via close contact with bodily fluids of infected people or surfaces like contaminated bed sheets. The disease is a highly infectious viral hemorrhagic fever, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is spawned by the animal-borne RNA virus of the same Filoviridae family as the Ebola virus. And I'm sure this is probably some of the stuff they were using to do the gain-of-function research over there in Wuhan and or Canada and here Bethesda, Maryland. It's all related. Oh, and Ukraine too. Let's not forget in Ukraine too. It's all been proven. Without treatment, Marsburg can be fatal in up to 88% of people, according to the depending on the virus strain and quality of case management. It was probably first transmitted to people from African fruit bats as a result of prolonged exposure from people working in mines and caves that have Raucetus bat colonies. The rare virus was first identified in 1967 after it caused a simultaneous outbreak of disease in laboratories in Marburg, Germany, Belgrade, and Serbia. 7 people died who were exposed to the virus while conducting research on monkeys. So this is probably where they got the idea of the movie Outbreak from, it sounds to me like. And it sounds to me like it may have just been created in a lab. Right there. First identified in 1967 after it caused simultaneous outbreaks in laboratories in Marburg, Germany, and Belgrade, Serbia. So, yeah, it jumped to humans in a laboratory. Gain of function research, folks. Gain of function. What are the symptoms of the Marburg virus? Symptoms include high fever and nothing you want. What's the treatment? There are no authorized vaccines or drugs to treat this shit, but rehydration treatment to alleviate symptoms can improve the chances of survival. Outbreaks of Marburg disease have been reported over a dozen times since 1967, mainly in African countries, including South Africa, Kenya, Angola, and Uganda, according to the WHO. Outbreaks have also been reported in Germany, Yugoslavia, Russia, and the Netherlands, in addition to one 2018 case in the U.S. observed in a traveler who had recently returned from a trip to Uganda. Huh. Oh, Uganda. Are they trying to release something in on them since they kicked the gays out? Oh, no. I don't know. We'll leave it alone. So, forecaster did not see this one coming. Oh boy, they missed it by a mile. I predicted myself personally that we could be getting something, but yeah, just the weakness of the magnetic field and how far south these magnificent auroras were visible. I mean, my God, look at that. It's so beautiful. It's like a piece of candy. I just want to taste it. It says forecaster did not see this one coming. On March 23rd to 24th, auroras spread into the United States as far south as New Mexico during a severe Category G4 magnetic storm, the most intense in nearly 6 years. The cause of the storm is still unclear. It may have been the ripple effect of a near miss CME on March 23rd. For about 30 minutes, we watched as auroras danced and simmered in the sky above Yellowstone National Park, says Michael Underwood, who photographed the light show from the Mammoth Hot Springs at latitude 45 degrees. This was the first time seeing the aurora and hopefully not the last, he says. It was a truly unbelievable sight. Well, I tell you what, folks, it may be pretty, but it's not exactly what you want to see because it means that we're in danger for one, cosmic radiation coming in through our weakened magnetic field, causing epigenetic and genome changes on species-wide levels. It also, the effects of the sun and these coronal mass ejections become all the more prevalent on human physiology and biology. It can affect the heart, the lungs, the brain. People who suffer from any mental health issues can be severely affected during CMEs, similar to like full moon. There's something there to be said about it. Furthermore, the big unrest. And look at these sunspots right here. The video I showed you earlier from 2022, that's almost the exact same region that coronal mass ejection popped off there. Boof. And here we got sunspot AR3259 is growing rapidly and could soon pose a threat for strong flares. It is directly facing Earth. This is no joke, guys. not at all. 3259, right there, directly facing Earth. Um, and we know the field is down. This could be a bad event. Imagine if some radar or something gets knocked out, or a satellite gets knocked out, and a military power misconstrues what's happened as an attack. It They want you to worry about asteroids and little rocks in space, but not the gigantic plasmoid not too far away that you can just hold your hand outside during the day and get burned by if it's, a sunny day. Yeah. We've got a 24 to 48 hour chance, about a 10% chance of M-class flares, and a 1% chance of an X-class flare. Mid-latitudes, fairly active. We're going into solar maximum. That's the reason it's been 6 years, which was solar minimum, since we've had a real powerful storm like this. We had to go through the minimum. Now we're swinging back up. I expect there to be more and more. This could be the last appreciable sun cycle, though. Some people say that it's going to get stronger, but then there are the Valentina Zarkovas that say that grand solar minimum is here, that the cycles say it's coming after this solar cycle, which is, I believe, solar cycle 25 or 24. Not to misspeak. Other notable mid to low latitude sightings were made in Virginia, Colorado, Missouri, Nebraska, North Carolina. Look at these. Another round of snow and rain for California is due in the coming days. Southern California see yet another round of rain and snow next week. They cannot catch a break. Major storms bring more rain, damaging winds, and heavy snow to California. That was 4 days ago. It's coming, folks. I talked about the Great Flood of 1862. You should check that video out. It's good. It's wild. 6,000 square miles were inundated at that time. Storm train to keep rolling through California next week. Bill Dager updated March 25th on AccuWeather. Here you can see the green. Early next week, flooding risk continues, heavy mountain snow, drought relief. Another storm. Yeah. There you have it, folks. Persistent chill, too. Cold. 10 degrees to 20 degrees below historical averages in the entire western United States on the other side of the continental divide. Yeah. Chilly. Global warming much? You notice now they've changed that completely to climate change. Except for they do try to use the warming thing, like the Earth's heating up. Like the whole planet is just getting hotter, like we're on a damn burner. They don't. It's so dumbed down. So dumb. Yep. The drought, gone. But what did they do? What do liberals and the establishment like to do anytime this is happening? They start making every law they can think of to increase the price of the utilities and the services that they provide to you to justify keeping you poor, keeping you from increasing your prosperity and enriching themselves because they control the supply of these resources that they obviously didn't manage very well to allow these droughts to get this exceptional. Maybe they should build a few more reservoirs up in California, in that San Joaquin Valley there, where that drought was so bad. But this is where the Tulare Lake is, and there's no more drought there. There's a lake, folks. This is in 1 year's time, just a little more than 1 year. Boom. Or I'm sorry, not even 1 year. That's 6 months. So we go November, December, January, February, March. A little more than 5, almost 6 months. The entire drought's been erased. It's darn near biblical. Okay. Now, photos show devastation after Mississippi tornadoes. What we know and how to help. I made a video about that earlier today. I've rarely in my life seen anything to look like this, and it's only in the most devastating tornadoes that we've ever witnessed. have I seen images like these, where everything is just wiped clean, pretty much. Um, it could be an EF3, EF4, maybe an EF5 tornado. I'm not sure. They'll have to figure that out. But as you can see, it stripped the bark off these trees. It's at the top end of the catastrophic damage scale. So I think it probably gets an EF5 rating. We'll see though. We'll see what they end up saying. And here we go. First week of spring ends with another snowstorm in East Idaho by Journal staff March 23rd. So Idaho is still getting more of the winter weather outside, and they got more to come. The storm arrived East Idaho on Friday morning. Is expected to continue through at least Saturday, possibly Sunday. It said the storm could dump over a foot of snow in the higher elevations, with winds of 50 miles an hour are also in the forecast. There is a chance the storm could stay in East Idaho longer than expected. Elsewhere in the state, wind advisories are in effect. South and central and southwest Idaho and winter weatheries are in effect in North Idaho. Winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories are in effect in Washington State, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, and Utah because of the storm. It is a massive multi-state winter storm that is not getting many headlines. But it's not the only one. Multi-hazard storm to wallop the Northeast with rain, wind, and snow. Published yesterday by AccuWeather, written by Alex Sosnowski. A potent storm packing flooding rain, high winds, and heavy wet snow will affect areas from the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley to New England and the mid-Atlantic during the first part of this weekend. AccuWeather meteorologists say for many areas, Sunday will be the better of the 2 weekend days for travel and outdoor plans. Not only will the storm hamper outdoor plans during the first official weekend of spring, but it could also hit a major travel hubs hard on Saturday, including Chicago, Boston, and New York. So they expect delays. The storm will strengthen as it travels northeastward from the southern plains on Friday to the Great Lakes region Saturday night. As air rushes towards the storm center, a zone of strong winds will develop. I'm going to go ahead and make a real advanced prediction with this one that the airlines are going to have yet another shit show over performance. Yeah, just going to call that out. A broad zone of wind gusts ranging from 40 to 60 is in store from southern Wisconsin to northern Georgia and the central portions of Pennsylvania and New York from late Friday night to Saturday night. It's kicking outside my window right now. It was going hard earlier. Gusts of hurricane force are possible over the higher elevations of the Appalachians and part of the Ohio Valley during the height of the storm. Yes, sir. We had to bring the kids inside earlier today because it was like a damn tornado outside and it was just wind. I live on the northwest facing side of a mountain and a canyon at the very top of the Allegheny Plateau. We're 3,500 feet in elevation, roughly, maybe 3,200, maybe 3,000 at the lowest around here, something like that. But we get wind that is, it's hellacious, and yeah, it keeps us up in the house at night. Usually when it's blowing hard, like it is on evenings such as this one. Everybody out there, being exposed to this, I hope you're safe. I hope you're warm. I hope you're taken care of and you're prepared and that, no tragedy befalls you. But as we've obviously been shown, that's what a natural disaster is, the normal course of Earth and its activities, its storms, its weather, its climate, its environment are dangerous to us in our soft, civilized ways. There's a reason why we probably lived in caves and heavily fortified things for, many thousands of years. I'll tell you what frightens me: lightning. If we get massive lightning storms from supercharged cloud nucleation or something like that, that just last for a really long time, it's so frightening. The earthquakes felt by loud sonic booms created from the lightning, and not to mention the power of the lightning itself bombarding the ground is very frightening. I think of I believe it's David Talbot who discusses it on the Thunderbolts project, but he talks about the fractal nature of the geography of Earth having been most likely created by giant magnetic plasma storms, similar to the ones that we might see on Jupiter when Earth was much younger, or maybe not even that much younger, but just under a completely different set of conditions. Potent storm packing flooding rains, high winds, and heavy wet snow will affect areas the Great Lakes to Ohio. Yeah. We didn't get a whole lot of snow out here this winter. Not at all. The main risk will be damaging wind gusts, which could be strong enough to blow loose objects and impact motorists. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I've enjoyed it. Oh man, I'm getting into the hang of things again, getting into the swing of things again. I appreciate all the support from all you guys as I get stuff rolling here. I've got a ton of ideas and things that I want to share, that I want to do, and it's just a little at a time. You paint an elephant one stroke at a time. That's what I've got to do. Get back on the horse and keep going. I love you all, and again, I appreciate this. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up and share the shit out of this video to everyone you know.